the TA2 car with all the power and the torque, and
it's
really
like
spoiled
stop
me.
and go, and with the power, right? Yeah.
But no, that's awesome. Did you have a question for Matt, or do we have people in the chat too?
Someone wants your Instagram. If you shout that.
Oh yeah.
Oh cool, yeah. It's just my name, Matt Jaskol. So you just type in MattJaskol. It's like rascal but different.
And yeah, I tagged him. I tagged him on my story too, so you guys can grab that from my Instagram story. All right, so I guess I'll roll through the rest of my questions.
Cool.
What's the fastest car you've ever driven?
It was, the fastest, okay, there's two parts to that probably. The fastest I've ever gone was in an Indy Lights car at Indianapolis. It was weekend of the Indy 500, which was super amazing, yeah. And we were doing about 200 miles an hour in the draft.
Wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I know.
What?
And even for me, you got to understand, can I cuss on this show?
Yeah,
okay, good.
Very good.
Because man, that's just how I talk, So I remember, I'll tell you a couple of cool stories. But so I did the Indy Lights cars 2007. I was racing for Michael Crawford, who was like the team manager for Sam Schmidt, very famous IndyCar team owner who had the most. He was like the Roger Penske of Indy Lights teams at the time, and I didn't have enough funding to race for Sam Schmidt. And Sam was always trying to help me, but actually Sam helped me, and Michael Crawford was a great friend and team owner. But yeah, so I got to go to Indy, and by yourself, you're doing about 187 average.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, going into turn one the first time, I swear to God, there's the Indy Lights car there actually at St. Petersburg. So I got to race at St. Petersburg, Florida, qualified 5th, and that was my first ever Indy Lights race, which was obviously really cool. But yeah, so you go into Indy. I didn't have any. I should have gave you guys some photos of Indy, but yeah, you go into Indy turn one by yourself, just testing, and you're like, it's not gonna fucking make it. There's no way. There's no way. I'm dying. You're gonna be dead. Like it's not gonna make it through. When you're doing almost 190, you get tunnel vision. It looks like there's zero banking, and at Indy, it's damn near a 90-degree corner.
Yeah.
And you're doing 190, and you put your head back in the car. You're like, there's no way it's gonna make it. And if for people that don't understand open wheel cars, IndyCar, it's like an airplane. But upside down, so meaning like you have downforce, so like the wings are pushing the car down to the ground. You're committed. You can't lift off the gas necessarily usually, depending on how the car's set up and things like that. If you lift or take off too much speed, you lose downforce, and now you can crash the car. Yeah. So you have to be committed. You have to trust the car. You might even take your left foot and put it over your right foot and be like, okay, we're gonna do. And I'm not kidding. That and go even further back. The first time I ever drove an Indy Lights car, Sam Schmidt did something special for me. And for people that don't know how messed up motorsports are, I'm sure you guys know when I say messed up, how expensive it can be and how ridiculous, right? So back in like 2001, I'm barely 16 years old. I haven't even raced cars yet. Sam Schmidt was already, it was like 2002, I think. Sam was in his wheelchair. It was after his IndyCar crash that almost killed him and left him a quadriplegic. And which, as a young man, that's hard to...
Hard to take in,
yeah, it's hard to take in, man. You're pursuing a career in racing, and you're looking at a guy that's now paralyzed from the neck down because of a fucking crash,
right.
In an IndyCar. And now I'm trying to follow that same path, that same goal, And so I got to test for him in Vegas. He put me in his Indy Lights car in Las Vegas in 2002, I think. And I was terrified. I was scared. He was giving me a shot basically to kind of see what I had at no cost. Wow. Like I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. To do an Indy Lights test back then was 10, 15, 20 grand,
Easy,
And he gave me some. He was like, he waited until the end of the day, gave me some used sets of tires from the other drivers, and said, "Go see what you can do."
Wow.
And it was cool. I was the fastest. I was faster than some of the other. And there were some decent names there, and everybody was like, "Wait a minute, this guy was like just hanging out.
Yeah.
Why is he getting in the car?" And some guys knew who I was, and so it was kind of like, "Well, what's he doing? He wasn't on the roster to test." And so that was 187 miles an hour at Vegas back then, and that was when they had less banking and stuff. But then the fastest car I ever drove is I got to drive a champ car. I got to drive Bobby Rahal's champ car because part of a Stars of Karting award. And it was me, Scott Speed, and two other drivers that got to and Buddy Rice, Indy 500 champion. He wasn't even an Indy 500 champion yet, I don't think. He wasn't. He hadn't won the Indy 500 yet. He was there as one of our driver coaches, and that thing was back then. The champ car was like 1,500 pounds and about 1,000 horsepower.
What?
Yeah, and I got to drive at a road course, so I didn't I didn't go 200 miles an hour, but the speed.
Oh my.
It was honest to God, I'll never forget. It was hard to. It gives me chills to this day. It was hard to wrap your head around. It was like you giggled a little bit. You were also terrified. I mean, it was the turbo was boosting in third gear at like 110, and you're getting wheel speed at like 120, or you're getting like a wheel spin at like 120 miles an hour. It's like, woo.
Yeah, no.
And it was the silliest thing I've ever. It was cold out. It was like it was like December or January, and so it's like 40 degrees. Tires are cold, and they didn't even like detune the car. They put what's called a rain map. So they didn't like detune it. There's no traction control, no paddle shift. It's hardcore badass IndyCar, champ car days.
Yeah.
So it was out of control. Like it was as you're going up through the gears. And you're taking your hand off the wheel to shift, and the car's kind of dancing around. You're like, how's this possible?
Why am I doing this?
This is insane. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So so that answers that for you.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good one. We actually have a question in the chat.
Cool.
And this is for my sponsored driver, Roman. That's his mom.
Oh,
she
nice.
asked, from your personal experience, what's the best piece of advice you would give a young karter? I know it's kind of a loaded.
It's loaded, and it hits me hard because there's the cynical and bitter part of it that says don't do it.
Yeah.
That's what my dad told me.
Yeah, the part that some is like go get tennis rackets or a golf club so you have a career that you're gonna make money at, rather than be disappointed. So the best piece of advice, I guess if I could go back and do things a little bit differently, it would be to actually. It's again a catch-22. I'd actually probably get proper management, or a little bit better proper guidance. I was trying to do it a little bit on my own, and then when I started making it, so to speak, then I kind of had the wrong management. I had people kind of like aggressive and trying to guide me in the wrong direction. I mean, I had a badass manager who was like aggressive, and he helped me do things, but it might have not have been what I really needed to. Because I didn't really know what I was. And I made a lot of mistakes in the sense of I don't know if it was a mistake. It was what I was trying to do. I tried to prove myself that. I just was desperate to be in a race car as a professional. So I was driving everything. I was driving go-karts, and then I would go to a stock car race, and then I'd go to an Indy car race, and I was performing. I'm winning to just show, like, listen, I'm one of those rare guys, like a Tony Stewart or something like that. I can drive anything. Just let me drive, And that was working out. Like I was getting calls. Even after my Red Bull days, I was on a Roger Penske development program for an ARCA team.
Wow.
But it all fell apart when the economy collapsed. So like my plan was working out. So to answer your question, I know it's tough. Was it what's her name?
I say beta, but I think it's different.
Beta?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Beta. To help give you the advice the best I can is pick the course that you want to be on. And focus on that. And I actually try to say you got to go. I would consider sports car racing. I actually don't even think NASCAR is really a place to be right. Today. I mean, I could get a lot of backlash for that. I think it's going downhill. If I'm just very honest,
for sure.
I don't think NASCAR is going the right direction at the moment. I think sports cars. The reason why I say that is manufacturers.
Yep.
I think that's always the place to be. Not to get too deep into politics, but I think renewable energy and I whether you believe in it or not, I think climate change is going to be affecting racing. Climate change on the political side of things. You're seeing, and I can back that up, you're seeing major manufacturers like Mercedes-Benz and things like that pulling out of motorsports, which is kind of sad.
Right.
Mercedes is pulling out of DTM, which is the biggest sports car series in the world. Used to be the baddest ass, like some of the Formula One drivers would compete there, or when they retired from Formula One, they'd go there and win championships. You're seeing major manufacturers pull out of racing, specifically saying because they're looking towards renewable energy and things like that, green energy. And so you see like Formula E coming up and things like that. So I would say for a young driver, you need to be very dynamic and consider sports car racing, because I think that if a manufacturer is behind it, the series can survive, right? So in sports car racing, you have Acura and Honda and Ferrari and Lamborghini and Mazda. You're seeing, I truly believe there's going to be a Tesla series. It's already being talked about. There's going to be a Tesla race car series, with race cars. So I would just say be very dynamic and don't have unrealistic goals like IndyCar, unless you're going to have millions of dollars behind you. I don't care how good of a driver you are. Yep. Your chances are truly 1 in a million. But with sports car racing, there's 2 drivers per car. There's sometimes 4 drivers per car for the longer endurance races. So that's the best advice I can give you is be willing to do sports cars and be very dynamic to keep track of what's happening in the world to see what's going to happen to racing.
Yeah, it's ever changing, and every day it's kind of different, and there's more things coming out. So awesome advice.
Yeah,
thank you, Matt. Yeah. So I think it would be really cool if you could kind of give us, you know how like you go on these TV shows and stuff, and they want this like bio.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us like a quick bio of from when you were born to today within the next like 2.5 minutes?
Oh God. Oh God. Okay, leaving out a lot of stuff that's happened in my life, obviously the dramatic and sad parts of my life. So 5 years old, yeah, what's cool is you're gonna see some photos of me like racing motocross. Like that was me probably age 7. Like what me?
Yeah,
Talking to
like
this guy? So
look how tan you were. You're
yeah,
really very
yeah,
tan.
I was just living out at the racetrack. So okay, to try to give you my background on life, and I like to be very transparent and tell people like what's real. You know, we were not a wealthy, rich family at all. I always joke and say we were high class white trash. We were living outside. My dad worked on his hands and knees, literally. He was a hardwood floor installer that built his own business. Like he had people working for him and things like that.
Like my dad.
Like no, well,
Yeah,
you know, my
construction.
dad and your
Yeah.
dad actually did projects together.
Yep.
He was a home builder and he was very successful, and my dad was doing projects sometimes with your dad and
Right.
things like that. Your dad was building homes. My dad was more the finished carpenter guy. Both of our dads, yeah, just hardworking, like blue-collar, hardworking guys, literally on their hands and knees, you know.
Yep.
And yeah, so we were a gearhead family. My dad raced boats before I was even born. He got out of boat racing. It's a funny story I got to tell because like he crashed a boat. It sank.
What kind of boat?
Like offshore.
Okay.
Offshore.
Yeah.
You know, like he was racing.
Like crazy person boat.
Yeah, he was crazy, literally. So the saying in boat racing went, either you died or you're going to die. It was very dark, like boat racing back then in the 80s.
Yep.
It was very dangerous. My dad was racing guys like Vic Edelbrock and Jerry Herbst.
Wow.
My dad was he was on a podium with
I didn't know
these.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
he was racing
That's
offshore
sick.
boats. Vic Edelbrock, Jerry Herbst, some famous names. And then he got a test in one of those Formula One boats. So he got a test ride. My dad was fast. He was winning races and stuff like that. And my mom, apparently, they had just kind of gotten married or gotten together. And my mom, in fear for him dying, was like, hey, it's either me or the boat. Which one's it going to be? And then shortly after I was born, and I tell my dad, I was like, what a loser. What were you thinking? You pick the boat every time, you know? So if it wasn't for my dad deciding to quit boat racing, I would have probably never been born. But we were still a gearhead family. We weren't a traditional family, I'm sure, much like yours. We weren't
Yeah.
doing this sit down at dinner, Thanksgiving stuff. It was a cool family. We were going out to the dunes. We were riding dirt bikes. And I always say that I was very lucky. I was privileged to have the things I had. I was very mindful at a young age. I knew I was lucky, man. When I'd see kids, I was always a very empathetic child. I would see kids that didn't have what we had, like the motorhome at the track, and I'd be like, Mom,
Right.
can we bring them over? Can we like
Right.
make them food, you know?
We didn't have a motorhome.
Yes, we had a beat up one. It was beat up.
But then
It was beat up.
Michael got sponsored by Cruise America, so he.
Yeah, that's
he-
right.
So
I
we
remember.
got to do the sponsorship.
Yeah,
with
your dad
that.
got the Cruise America deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were living at the racetrack. My brother started racing first. I have an older brother. He's like 6 years older. He's racing motocross. I got jealous, so my dad got me some bikes, and we're racing dirt bikes. And again, we weren't rich. We just did well. You know, my dad was working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, he was hardly ever home. It was tough on the marriage. You know, so we were traveling. We're going to races, and then by the time I was 10 years old, I was pretty quick. I was even racing in some of the big races at the end of the year with guys like I'm at the track with Ricky Carmichael, Travis Pastrana, Bubba Stewart, and guys like this. And I'm seeing them race, and even then, again, at 10 years old, I was very aware. I was like, oh, I'm not as fast as these guys.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that guy, he just did a triple on a 60, and he's 10. Yeah, that's not me. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Dad. Like, I'm watching Pastrana and these guys just insane speed, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm just not that fast. And I was quick. Like, I was quick in the novice class. I moved into the intermediate class. I'm winning races. You know, I'm sponsored locally, but I got hurt. I got a head injury at the age of 10 years old, and my mom.
Sorry, he just pulled up that picture.
Yeah, I gave you guys that one. How cool is that photo? That's your brother
I know.
on the podium, and that's me over to the right on the screen, or left if you're looking, I guess, in the black, and holding up the trophy. I finished fifth at that race. It was 1994, I think
Was
that
that
was.
Laughlin?
Yeah, Laughlin Grand Prix 95.
So my brother won.
Yeah,
That's my brother.
and
in
it was
the
a
middle.
big. That was a really, really big race, and that's her brother Michael in the middle, and I think that's Chris Freckleton on the podium
Yeah.
actually, and
I recognize that name. Remember
yeah.
JJ Lang?
yeah, I talked to him, JJ
Really?
Langen. Yeah,
Oh my-
he's still
Langen,
around.
that's
Langen.
Hot Rock, not Hot Rocks. That was
Travis.
Irving.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. That was a and that was a big deal. Like these races were held like in a parking lot of a hotel.
Yeah.
in front of fans and stuff, and we were obviously junior drivers, and there was like older drivers that we eventually would move up to. But yeah, so that was cool. I have that photo. So that's about what I got out of motocross. I got injured. I got a head injury. My mom was not very happy. She got freaked out, but she was still willing to let me race. So we started. My uncle here in Las Vegas, Chuck Shaver. He was an engine builder. And I got to go drive a go-kart.
That's your uncle?
Yeah.
See, I never knew that.
You
I know the
didn't even know
name.
that?
No, I know the name,
Wow.
but yeah, I'm learning now.
Wow. So the Shavers are my family.
Okay.
So my uncle Chuck, he was a motor builder. He was like a local, badass engine builder for go-kart racing. And they put me in a go-kart, and I was quick. And how I translate that was motocross was scary, and it was aggressive. And when I got on four wheels, I felt comfortable. I was like, this is
safe.
Much safer. I wasn't scared. Like when you're on the gate, on a starting gate of a dirt bike, man, I was terrified, you know? And then after 2 laps, you're fine. I sat in the go-kart, and I honestly was kind of an attitude. It was like, this is kind of lame.
This is stupid.
This is stupid. There's girls racing. What is there? I was like, the first go-kart I ever drove was actually this girl, Day Gang. That was her go-kart that I first ever drove. So I got into a go-kart, and then I did a few races, and I was doing well. I was winning some of the local races there and here in Vegas at the track at the Speedway, and that kind of was that. That was it. So then we started doing go-karts. By the time I was 14 years old, I'd won a pretty big championship. I won the Super Nationals, and then by the time I was like going into 15 years old, I considered myself professional because I got signed by Tracy, famous champ car, IndyCar driver at the time. He was living in Vegas, started his own race team, and I was his first driver to ever race for him with Curtis Cooksey. And then AJ Allmendinger ended up being my teammate a year later. We raced for a couple years. We hated each other. Still don't love each other, but we had a love-hate relationship.
I don't think he's watching it.
Good, I doubt it. Yeah, the guy was always a jerk, man, but he was a good driver. So we were teammates, and then I got the Skip Barber scholarship. So for people who don't know, that was kind of like the #1 racing school in America, and they also had like a pro racing series for young up-and-coming drivers, both American and international drivers. So I won the karting scholarship, and that was in 2003. And then from that, I finished second in the championship. I was the highest finishing American, and that's when Red Bull was starting their driver search program. Your brother, and there was a lot of politics. Like your brother was involved in the first year, and there's a cool photo coming up, and it's I mean, to me, it's a big deal. Like this was. There's actually not such a good reason behind that photo, but that photo right there you're seeing is me talking to Indy 500 champion Danny Sullivan. And he was kind of like my rep or like my mentor or my manager, like watching over the Red Bull program in America. And this discussion we're having was actually when Red Bull was letting me go. And there was a lot of drama and BS and politics behind it, but I'll never forget that day. That was when I was being let go unexpectedly by Red Bull. We were in Portugal. That was in Estoril, Portugal, at a Formula One track. I was driving Formula 3 cars, and they abruptly said, "Oh, hey, by the way, we're letting you out of your contract." And of course, a lot of it was like financial, and they had bought their first Formula One team for hundreds of millions of dollars, and it wasn't just me. They fired a lot of junior drivers, both American and foreign drivers, and they kept Scott Speed and one other guy, and even the other guy, Colin Fleming, they ended up firing him in the middle of this. Yeah, they ended up firing Colin in the middle of the year.
Oh, there's Dominique.
Yeah, Dominic Claessens.
Yeah.
So he's actually a skydiver now.
Is he really? I know that's right. He travels the world too, right?
Yeah. He travels the world. He's like a drone pilot. I helped him. I helped him become a skydiver recently.
Awesome.
So I know you said in a few minutes, but like
we
can't even
horrible.
I know we can't get through my life.
It's like go-karts.
Yeah.
So let's go through these photos. There's only we didn't take all the ones you sent, but let's kind of go through these. So that's our friend Dominique and Matt.
No. That's Alex Rossi.
No, on the right. They can see the right side.
Oh, they see the right side, right? The live photo where it says live.
Yes,
that's Alex Rossi, the Indy 500 champion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that photo is was pretty special to me. I taught Alex Rossi how to drive.
Right.
So I was working at 16 years old. I was working at a kart track here in Vegas at the
with Michael, right?
Huh?
Did you work there with Michael?
Michael didn't work there that much actually.
Oh.
He was there a little bit because I was like
I don't remember.
Yeah. So I was working for Hollis Brown.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like running the go-kart school there, and Alex Rossi came through with his father. And I did it was like a 3 or 4 day racing school with Alex Rossi. And so that photo, the top left corner is Alex when he's only like 8 years old. I'm 16. Wow. And then later on down the road, I kind of like helped him through karting and like kind of mentored them. Like I guided them, said, hey, you should race here, you should do this. And then in 2005, when like near my Red Bull, end of my Red Bull, my Red Bull career, so to speak, Alex Rossi was a go-kart racer, and that's a photo of he and I. And then 15 years later, he wins the 100th running of the Indy 500. And I just happened to be there. We had lost touch over the years. I was there not even to see him.
Oh, how cool.
I ended up seeing his father, and we were like kind of like had a reunion. Like, oh my God, it's so cool to see you. This is amazing. And then I hung out with his father for the whole Indy 500, and he freaking wins the 100th run of the Indy 500. Yeah, and then that was there's Michael Andretti and Alex, who I know the Andretti's really well. I know Marco's a really good friend, but it was insane. Like I talk about a life circle 15 years later, and then
that's
Alex,
not very long either.
15
years.
Right? It's like, and then Alex ends up actually becoming. Alex ends up becoming my teammate. We did it for fun to kind of tell the story. Later that year, after he wins the Indy 500, we raced as teammates at the Supernats, the biggest kart race in the world. And that was amazing. So we got to race as teammates and kind of tell our story, and like Racer Magazine documented it and stuff. So
awesome.
So yeah, the path of my life has been long, to say the least, like it branches off in a few different directions, obviously, from like how did I start doing triathlons and skydiving and stuff like that. That's why I said, hey, we have 3 hours for the show.
You need your own podcast.
I know, right?
So this photo is with a NASCAR truck, right?
Yeah. So after I lost my Red Bull gig, again, it was traumatic in the sense of like they dropped me at the end of the season. I wasn't expecting it. I was supposed to continue on and keep racing, and I struggled to get back into a seat for the next season, obviously. Just like it was so late at the end of the year when they let me go that going into the new season, I was scrambling to try to find a ride. And I landed, it's a long story, obviously, but I landed this like NASCAR ASA speed truck, kind of like a Craftsman Truck Series ride. And I ended up going on to be the first rookie to ever win the title, which was
awesome.
really special. And
Awesome.
that's what helped me continue my career forward like any driver, and and then
there's your dad in the picture.
And then my dad was there at the bottom, and he was like hanging out taking photos during the championship and stuff.
Awesome.
And then so I kind of left open wheel, obviously, and realized that financially and everything it wasn't going to be as realistic. So I started doing the stock car route, and then 2007, I'm still dabbling in Indy Lights because I had a ride. I got some sponsorship together, and I'm trying to, and that's, again, when I mentioned trying to drive everything. So in 2007, I was driving Indy Lights, performing, doing well. I was driving the Speed Truck Series, and I had won the championship in 05. 06, I'm winning. We start our own super late model team. I'm winning some of the biggest races at the, same races that like the Busch family won at the Bull Ring, winning in the super late model car. And then I'm just bouncing around, driving everything. I'm racing. I'm winning in go-karts. I'm driving stock car, super late models. I'm driving Indy Lights cars. And then the economy collapsed in 2008, and that's what affected everything. It forced everybody into retirement, whether you liked it or not, and that's when I stopped racing full time, unfortunately. And then it was almost like a couple year hiatus. I would still get back in a kart or a car once a year. Like I would do like a sports car race, the 25 Hours Thunder Hill, or I would do like the Supernats just to try to stay out there and stay alive.
What's that podium from?
That's in the preview there though, right?
Yeah, he'll pull it up.
So that's probably the most special win of my life still today.
That was my next question.
So the most probably emotional, the most meaning, just the most special for sure, and any driver would agree. That was when I won at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for Red Bull. So I'm an American trying to become the next American Formula One driver, and we were racing a junior Formula Car Series, much like Formula 3, like a junior Formula One car, and I won at Indy.
Wow.
During the U.S. Grand Prix.
Wow.
And we actually rolled out for our race as the Formula One drivers were finished their podium ceremonies.
Wow.
So on Sunday. So we were a support race. We raced twice that weekend. We raced on Saturday, and I got a penalty. Had a chance to win it. Got a bogus penalty. Whatever. Some racing stuff happened. And then Sunday I came back with a vengeance. We dominate the race, and I got to kiss the bricks at Indy. Derek Daly, ex-Formula One driver, he was the commentator, and he was in tears. I used to work for him at his driving school, so he was there commentating. He's in tears.
Cool.
I'm crying. My dad's there. I run to the bricks. I kiss the bricks. And actually, one of my very good friends still to this day, that's James Hinchcliffe, who was standing next to me, the Canadian. He's a very well-known IndyCar driver now today. Awesome guy, and that was Andreas Wirth, the German. So if you see on that photo they showed a second ago, I'm looking up at the podium, and I was like pointing at the American flag because I was like, wow, I'm an American F1 development driver. I just won during an F1 weekend in America,
Right.
and that to me that was like That was the ultimate. It wasn't the Indy 500. It wasn't a Formula One race, but it was as close as you could get for that for what I was doing. You know.
Wow.
So that was special for sure.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Well, we can run over a little bit. We're all right.
All right.
So we're gonna go past 30 minutes today. So if you guys want to stick
after
around.
racing, what'd you use to fuel your adrenaline?
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So like to try to long story long. So my career kind of slows down like any driver in 2008, 2009. So 2010, I'm just working as like a racing instructor a little bit, but I was bitter, to be honest. I was sad. I was depressed even, if I'm like completely honest. I was like, man, I'm not doing what I devoted my entire life to, which is driving a race car. So I needed to find something, and so I started doing triathlons in 2010. And it was just to compete. It was just to like race, you know, and it didn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
It didn't cost a lot of money, you know. I was like
sneakers and sunblock.
and right, and I was like, and even the bicycles were expensive, but I was like, oh, there's not the cheating and the politics and the money, and then you find out later there is. People are dope. People are, and that's what fucking crushed me even then. Like I'm competing in triathlon, and then I can't beat some of these guys, and I find out they're doping and they're like doing Lance Armstrong shit. I'm like, what is going on here? So I was trying to compete in triathlon just to race desperately, just honest to God, just out of the love of racing and competing. So I was doing triathlon, and fitness is a part of my life. I wanted to stay healthy, and I wanted to stay sharp in case I could get in a race car. And then Dream Racing opened up in late 2011, early 2012. So I had a chance to go be the chief instructor at Dream Racing, which just got me to be around a car again. So I left working for a nutritional company and doing triathlons. It was just kind of like, again, like a 2-year hiatus, kind of like doing triathlons, doing something, making some money. I get back into doing some motorsports, you know, technically full-time. Even though I'm not racing full-time, I'm at the racetrack, I'm driving cars, I'm coaching people, I'm getting into a race once or twice a year. And then in 2014, I'm turning 30 years old, I guess kind of like a midlife crisis. I ended up getting out of a relationship, which was hard. You know, it was a girl that I dated for nearly 10 years, you know, like we knew each other forever, and I'm lucky to still call her a good friend today, you know. But it ended, and it wasn't easy like anything, and I was like, man, I'm 30 years old, and a guy that was working at the Speedway, basically one of the owners of Dream Racing. He was like this extreme athlete, skydiver, has his own helicopter, and I was terrified to skydive. It wasn't adrenaline. I was terrified. I just needed something. You know, I needed something that intricate, something I could learn how to do. I was actually learning how to be a pilot. I was flying airplanes. I was flying by myself, you know, getting my pilot's license.
Wow.
But that was way too expensive.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was way too expensive. I was flying. I was getting my pilot's license, and I was like, okay, this is silly. What am I doing? And I was like, oh, I can go jump out of the plane. I don't have to pay to fly it. It's less expensive, you know? And so I started skydiving, and that would take a whole nother episode to talk about what that has led my life to, you know, like insane, like rekindling, like hanging out with Travis Pastrana, skydiving. I took my dad to Egypt, which was this like special trip, and we skydived over the pyramids in Egypt. And there's a reason how that was even possible. It didn't cost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. It was literally like a couple $1,000 in flights, and it was because it was like it was like a special event. It was it's not even normal. That's insane, right? So I took my father. I got to jump into the blue hole in Belize because of the most amazing human beings you could ever imagine. Like they're the ones responsible. There's my father and I in Egypt. Yeah, they're the ones responsible for putting some of the most insane things together. Like I've jumped during the solar eclipse. I've jumped in Alaska. I jumped over the pyramids. I jumped into the blue hole.
I love when you wear your racing helmet.
Yeah,
that's
so
just
cool.
I love that. It's awesome.
Aero testing, you know. And so, so I mean, God, some of the, and I got to Travis Pastrana, like we're buddies, you know. We go way back to motocross days, and I helped him out a little bit when I was racing for Red Bull. Like put him in a shifter cart a few times. So we're pals, you know. Yep. And so I skydived with him into Nitro City in Panama. I jumped with him during his birthday, you know. Like we've done some skydives together and stuff. And yeah, skydiving has actually led me to some pretty amazing thing. It's actually helped me rekindle relationships with racing people, actually, you know.
That's
and
awesome.
It's taken me on an incredible journey. I learned how to get my tandem rating, so I became a tandem instructor, which I don't do very often. It's scary. It scares me to have other people's lives strapped to my chest.
Yeah.
So, but I have done it, and so I do skydiving as like kind of like a side job, you know, hustle, make some money, and then still trying to race. You know, I raced the 25 Hours of Thunder Hill last year, and which was
like awesome but horrendous at the same time. Well,
you
guys
all the
had
rain.
some trouble too, though. But for me, it was a great experience. It was,
and then we didn't even talk about COVID. Like I had an opportunity to get into a race car this year, and just like many people that it's affected. And listen, I mean, people's lives are devastated. Yeah. But just to speak to what's happened to me or whatever.
Right.
It's like it obviously devastated my family. Financially, it's been tough for everybody. But I had a ride, my first paid race car professional ride in 8 years. Right? Yeah, it was through Dream Racing.
Yep.
It was amazing. It was I was going to be paid to drive for the first time in almost 10 years,
Right.
and it was a Lamborghini Trofeo championship
yeah.
with a gentleman driver running
Right.
Pro-Am.
Nice.
Really cool dude. And it got canceled because of COVID.
Ah.
And I was crushed, not just to drive a race car, but it was a chance to be back in a race car. It was a chance to be getting money again, to be
Right.
paid. And honestly, the emotional side was like, my father and like being like, hey, I'm still
doing
fucking
Yeah.
making it happen, man. And
Right.
like I'm making a paycheck to be in a race car, which is
Right.
what the goal always was. So to have that stripped away this year was,
That was-
but I always try to put into perspective of what what other
Look,
people are,
yeah.
people
Yeah.
have lost way more of what's happening this year. But so yeah, just on the side of racing though, that COVID sucks.
Yeah, I know. And it's like everybody's saying, oh, 2021, it's going to be so much better, but it's like it's right around the corner.
Is it gonna
Oh.
be better?
Yeah, and
is
it's
it gonna
like,
be better though?
Doesn't
right?
mean just because the year changes that's going to all go away.
It's
know.
already hard.
Time, I try to tell people time isn't linear, or it doesn't like it's January 1st, like we
Yeah,
just stop
it's
we just
done.
stop
Yeah,
and
It's all new.
2020 's
like,
over.
put the new
Fresh
DVD in and we're
Yeah.
gonna start a new chapter. Like fuck, it still fucking rolls into the new year,
Right.
man. Like all the same
Right.
shit can still be happening. So
Yeah.
So I know that you also have your own. Actually, you have a couple of businesses. So
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about the latest one that you're working on?
oh yeah, because I totally forgot. So
Yeah.
thank you, honestly. and I don't do enough to like I hustle to try to pay bills, take care of family, and my dad had a heart attack in 2015. That's a whole nother story. And like, and I left Dream Racing to take over his business. He survived open heart surgery, and that was obviously fucking really
Huge.
hard and
Yeah,
emotional. He's
that's
the most important human being in my life next to my mother. My parents are responsible for me having an incredible life. Both good and bad because I've learned so much. But they've given me an incredible life. So to have that happen to my dad in 2015, that was scary. It was devastating. I left Dream Racing, took over his business, and I've tried ever since to try to find ways to take care of my family and not struggle. We still struggle with bills, man.
Right.
My house was in foreclosure for 9 years. I just got it out. Struggle to pay bills. My dad is still working. Even though I took over the business, I made a deal to sell the business, but it's like a 2-year deal, so he's still out there working. I'm traveling to try to work. I'm
Right,
coaching,
right.
and I started and I almost hate saying it's almost like a taboo thing because it's a flooded industry, but I'm genuinely passionate about it because of fitness. So I started a CBD business, but I'm very honest and transparent. I started it with the help of Hammer Nutrition. Hammer's been around for 35 years.
Right.
I met the owner 10, 11 years ago
Wow.
and became his
Yeah.
racing instructor. He gave me a job as just an employee for Hammer Nutrition, driving the semi truck, being a sponsored athlete. And now I've kept that relationship for 10 years. Even though I don't work for him, he's been a friend, he's been a sponsor, he's been a mentor, a business mentor, and he helped me. I went to him and said, listen, I believe in this product. It's something I used even when it wasn't legal because as an athlete, I was looking for things. I don't do drugs, I don't drink, but I still
Yeah.
needed something to help my anxiety and things like that. So people even years ago, before people knew about CBD really, I was using it. It was hard to get, it wasn't legal like it is now. So I went to the owner of Hammer. I said, hey, man, I really want to get into CBD, into the industry. I don't have the capital. Can you help me? And it was amazing what he did. He was like, Maddie, we'll help you bottle, we'll label, we'll do everything for you.
Wow.
And I want
That's awesome.
I want a brand of my own. I genuinely want to help people, which I do now. I don't even really talk about some of the projects that I do to help people and,
Right.
and people that are having hard times in life, whether it's depression or whatever. And so I started, it's called iLife, Inspire and Improve Life. So it's not only is it a product that I love and use and I make my family use it, it's something that I want to build the brand to help other people. And that's why I came up with the name Inspire and Improve Life.
Awesome.
Because
cool.
CBD does help people's lives. I have families that buy it for their autistic children and there's so many different that have
So
people that
many
have
benefits.
anxiety and
Right.
sleeplessness and athletes that use it. And so, there's top level athletes like Olympic athletes, gold medalists that use CBD. There's some of the biggest race car drivers in the world are using CBD. So I started my own brand because I want to build my own brand. And actually, we talked about sponsoring your guys' team, which
Yep.
we're gonna do. So we'll
Awesome.
talk about that some
Awesome.
other time. And
Yep.
I brought some stuff for you guys.
Sweet.
Awesome.
And so the mission behind Inspire and Improve Life, or iLife, is genuinely to build enough and grow enough to be able to help penurious individuals, as they would say, underprivileged, whether it's taking people skydiving, taking them on adventures,
Right. That's awesome.
yeah, different stuff like that. People, suffering from ailments. We have cancer, people that are cancer patients using CBD. So yeah, I truly believe in it. I love it, and that's why I'm trying to build the brand.
Very cool.
Yeah, one of
Very
our
cool.
friends, Delaney, even said there, CBD has definitely helped my recovery after some races. I would love to support your business. So
Thank you
that's
so much,
very
Delaney. That's
cool.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so awesome. Well, here, let's wrap it up in the next 4 minutes
Okay.
since we are going over. But what else? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about while we still have some time?
Oh gosh, there's too much, like all
Yeah,
the side
that's
stuff.
obvious.
Cool, and I genuinely, I don't want to say pride, like it's not like I'm trying to boast or anything, but I'm just proud because I try to say I'm lucky or I'm extremely grateful for this insane life that I've had. But I've learned through, like, we didn't even talk about Castaways, living in a
Right.
jungle for like
Yeah.
41 days.
We'll have to come.
on
Have
the-
to come
you
back.
got-
Yeah,
come
on
back.
on the
Part two.
ABC show.
gotta come back.
If anybody didn't see the ABC TV show Castaways, I starved in a jungle for 41 days. It was pretty wild. It was insane, and but I've been so lucky. But it's not just luck; it's opportunity meets preparation. I've lived a good life. I've stayed the course, even when
Right.
things were hard. Perseverance, and I just try to inspire people to do the same.
Right.
So I get to tonight. I get to go hang out with Travis Pastrana because he invited me to come hang out with him since he's in town for the Craftsman Truck Race. I helped them put a simulator deal together. Connor Daly, who was a go-kart teammate of mine, he's an
Yep.
IndyCar driver now. So they're in town, so I'm gonna go hang out with them now, and I'm grateful for that. It's
What
cool.
are you guys gonna jump off of?
Yeah, no, there's no base jumping. That's illegal. Yeah, so they're here doing the Craftsman Truck Race, and they're doing like at Dream Racing tomorrow. They're doing like a simulator battle, and it was awesome. Dream Racing helped. I called them up, kind of helped do the deal.
Nice.
It is. I mean, listen, it is truly cool. Like Travis texted me at like 6 in the morning, like a week ago. And I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, Travis Pastrana, what's he want? You better take that. And it's just it's cool to hear from him and
That's cool.
and what he's done in his life. And so yeah, it's cool to hang around those guys. It's also crazy. I try to duck out before things get too wild because I don't
Yeah.
really drink. And
Yeah.
about 12 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning is when I'm like, okay, see you later.
Yeah, we've gone to some after Nitro Circus parties with those guys, and yeah, it's
Gnarly.
It gets a
it's
little
hard.
Yeah, it gets a
Yeah.
little, especially when it starts playing these crazy games like
Yeah.
Baby Bird and
But I'm like, we just watched these guys for hours going off the mega ramp and all this stuff, and then they party all night.
yeah.
And we were just sitting watching, and I couldn't keep up. There was no way. Those
Yeah.
guys are next level.
Yeah, I can't do
My
it.
mom's on here. She's
Judy?
Judy. She said you're still super long-winded.
Oh, whatever, Judy. There's a lot to talk about, okay? They're that, it's like they asked me to talk, it's what I come and do.
She also commented on my Starbucks. It actually says not Starbucks.
No, not
But you
sponsored by
can't-
Starbucks.
Yeah, you can't see it. It's just water. That's all I drink.
I'm kind of becoming a Dutch Bros guy
Oh,
now.
I like Dutch
Love
Bros
that.
too.
Very
I'm
good.
just
I like
dieting
Star-
right now,
I like
so it's not
Starbucks too,
allowed.
though.
All right. Well, in wrapping it up, can you let everybody know where they can find out more about you
Yeah.
and
Follow you.
Yeah. all
Yeah,
that kind
so
of stuff.
I mean, obviously, like Facebook and Instagram are some of the best. So you can go to just my name, Matt Jaskell.
He's got his own website.
I got a website.
mattjaskell.com.
Yeah, does anybody use those anymore? It's kind of like
I don't
websites are almost
know.
becoming like MySpace.
Yeah.
It's all Instagram and stuff. So I do have a MySpace too. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to.
That's where we met.
That's where you guys. Oh my God, that was like 30 years ago. How's
Yeah.
that possible?
We're all getting old. We're
Yeah,
all
so
getting
so
old.
you can't. I mean, I don't really update my website, but you can go to my Instagram's probably the best. Instagram and Facebook is where I post and share a lot of stuff. And,
See a
and-
lot of sick videos and photos.
yeah, if
Yeah.
anybody
Sure.
wants to go
It's fun.
skydiving, and
Yep.
you can hit me up there, and then hopefully I'll come back on and we'll talk a little bit more about some stuff. So.
And then are we lucky enough to share a coupon code?
Oh
with
yeah,
my
sorry, yeah. So if
fans?
anybody looking for the CBD stuff, which is pretty awesome, anybody wants to support that, again, it's just iLife CBD. So it's easy to type in ilifecbd.com. And there's it's Abate 30,
Yep.
and that'll give you 30% off your order, which is pretty
there you
big.
go,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a pretty
So
big discount.
Listen, I've only had it for like
That
a
is
year.
big discount.
I'm just trying. It is a big discount, and our pricing is amazing
It's 'cause
compared to a lot of other product
Matt
out
has
there.
OCD. That's why.
I have OCD. I was gonna do a 25% discount code, and Michelle
But
goes,
it's
"Oh,
30.
I use Abate 30 usually," and I was like, "Well, I can't do a 25% discount
With
code.
30.
It's got to be 30 now for my OCD."
So
You're
you're
welcome.
So now everybody gets 30% off their order. Which, if you do know CBD, if you look at my pricing, it's some of the best in the nation, and we have some of the best product. We have proper certifications. I
backed
spend a
by
lot
the
of
right guys.
I spend a lot of money. I'm partnered with one of the biggest nutritional companies for sports endurance on the planet with Hammer Nutrition, and so I actually happily share that I'm partnered with them, and
So
yeah,
with
so it's a good
that,
product.
if they have any questions, just hit him up on Instagram, and he can answer them for you because he's
Mm-hmm.
very well educated in the area. But anyways, Matt, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on
thanks,
tonight.
man.
Thank you guys for letting me
Awesome.
talk for like 45 minutes.
That's all right.
Crushed
We're
it.
gonna have you back.
Yeah,
Cool.
I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
I just sat
it's
here. But all right, guys, thank you so much for checking in. If you haven't yet, be sure to follow Matt. He's an awesome guy. He's going to hang out. Well, with Travis Pastrana tonight. It was
Yeah.
Come on.
sick. So watch his stories. I'm sure on Instagram he'll be uploading some stuff.
Let me
Yeah.
please say thank you to you guys genuinely.
Yeah.
I follow you guys. I truly look up to what you guys do and how hard you guys work.
Thank you.
I tell people all the time, like your guys' hustle and grind is literally next to none, and I love you guys for how hard you guys work and
Thanks,
just
brother.
keep doing your thing.
Thanks,
Yep.
Matt.
And
All right,
thanks,
guys.
Eric Gearhart, for
Yeah,
the background.
Thanks for our background, Eric.
Yeah,
You
green
can't see the
screen's
margarita
pretty cool.
anymore. Oh, wait, can you
it's
put
on my
Anthony
screen.
on the screen real quick?
I got a little cheers to Eric Gearhart on the
Boom.
way out. Later, guys.
Thanks, Eric. Catch you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. See ya.